Okay, well, this is the first kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, kind of a very makeshift recap vlog. Excuse me, I need some water. I'm very parched. Of the day one and day two of my time filming for the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour. So I thought what would be kind of fun this year is I'm in my hotel room right now. And I've kind of got to keep it somewhat down a little bit because the walls are very thin in this room. And I don't really know who's around me. A lot of times when I film for Bass Pro Tour and doing the Major League Fishing Cups and things like that, a lot of times I'll actually be around anglers. There'll be anglers that are competing in rooms next to me. So I have to be somewhat quiet here. But I thought it would be fun this year to do kind of a recap after every day out on the water, kind of give you a little bit of a behind the scenes. Not too behind the scenes because I don't want to lose my job, so I have to be kind of careful about what I say regarding some issues, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to do that. There's some interesting things that happens during a day out on the water. And it's one of the things, this is a very grueling job. My face is red, I'm windburned, it's been cold, but I really enjoy this job because I'm a bass fisherman. Growing up, I wanted to be a professional bass fisherman, so this is kind of the next best thing to be in a boat with these guys as they're competing, and I really feel it makes me a better angler. So it's great getting paid for this, but another really great aspect of this is that I really glean a lot of information that helps me as a fisherman. So I thought it would be fun just to, this year, 2020, after I get off the water for the Bass Pro Tour, just kind of tell you a little bit about what happened that day. This particular, I don't know what we're going to call this, a vlog. I have no idea what to call this yet, but I'm doing this all very off the cuff. It's on my phone. I'm using lights that are just here in the hotel room. This is down and dirty, but I think the information is what's important. I'm a video professional, so sometimes I go a little overboard with how things should look. I'm not too worried about that right now. I just want to pass along some information that I think will be kind of fun maybe. So day one, what is this actually? I'm getting tournament trails mixed up now. This is Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour. This is the first event of 2020 on Lake Eufaula. And Lake Eufaula in Alabama has got a rich bass fishing history, tons of history here, and a lot of big bass. This event is really kind of showcasing the fact that this fishery is very healthy with a lot of big largemouth and some spotted bass in here too, which was kind of a surprise. So the first day, so this is day two of the Bass Pro the Bass Pro Tour. I'm very tired. So let me talk first about day one. Day one, they paired me up. And if this is the first time you've seen me or this video, I'm a professional videographer. Okay, I'm a freelance videographer. One of my great clients is Major League Fishing. So day one, they paired me up with Randy Howell, and I've known Randy for quite some time. I actually emceed a couple of, this is way back in the day, Bassmaster tournaments, and was always very impressed with how friendly Randy Howell was, and still is. I mean, I get in the boat with Randy, met him on day one at, it was about, what time was it? Probably about 7 o'clock in the morning. They paired me up with him, jumped in the boat with him, and he's immediately very just laid back, courteous, helpful, always very welcoming. He always just makes sure that I'm comfortable, and I really appreciate that. He's a true professional. Problem is that there's been a ton of rain here, and this area in Eufaula, Alabama. And so the lake has come up quite a bit. This time of year, it's February, it's early February. And what that means is it's still cold. I think the water temperature is in the upper 40s, maybe the low 50s. And when you have rising, cold, muddy water, that is typically tough fishing. And it was tough fishing. In fact, I didn't record any scoreable bass with Randy Howell. Tough fishing, to say the least. But he's always got a great attitude. Always enjoy working with him. They then moved me, and this is kind of how it goes. I can hear them in my ear. I have an earbud that's hooked up. I won't get too technical here, but it's hooked up to the camera. I can hear the control room where they're working the live show. So they can talk to me, and I know how they're directing the live show. I know when they're taking my camera, and I know a lot of times if they're coming to get me and transfer me to another angler. So that's what they did. I can't remember whether it was the first period they transferred me, but first or maybe the beginning of the second period. I can't remember exactly. But the second angler I covered was Anthony Gagliardi. And Anthony used to fish the FLW Tour, now fishing the Bass Pro Tour. Anthony's a great guy as well. Most of these guys, I hate just saying that everybody's great, but the reality is they really are. And working with Anthony, when I've worked with him I think I've worked with him maybe 3 or 4 times in the past. He's always been great. Tough fishing for Anthony as well. I can't even remember. I don't think he was that far. If I'm remembering correctly, well, here's the thing. So one thing that was interesting during the filming these first 2 days of the event is that typically what happens on a reservoir, you have the muddiest water in the upper part of the reservoir, clearest water in the bottom of the reservoir by the dam. And where Randy was fishing was up towards the upper part of the reservoir. It was dirty water, so that was really tough fishing. Anthony, I can't really remember exactly what part that he was fishing, but I didn't record one scoreable bass with Anthony as well. Then they moved me to Brandon Coulter, and Brandon was great. And Brandon's someone who I had not worked with before. I'm pretty sure I haven't worked with Brandon before. But what was amazing is that I also did not score. I did not film a scoreable bass with Brandon either. So that's the first time filming for Major League Fishing that I have not actually filmed a scoreable bass. Excuse me while I take a sip of this. So it shows you how kind of messed up, especially day one, how messed up the lake is, because there were fish being caught, and I could hear in my ear that guys are catching them, and they were big fish. In fact, actually, I'm remembering now, before I got in the boat with Brandon, and that's why they put me in the boat with Brandon, he had just caught a 7-pound, 14-ounce bass. And a very interesting thing about this, he told me that, so his boat official is named Sterling, right? And before they caught, or before Brandon caught that 714, this big largemouth, he caught a 7-pound, 14-ounce largemouth, right? Before he caught that 7-pound, 14-ounce largemouth, his boat official, Sterling, said, "Oh, look it over there. There's a boat called Sterling." And first of all, I've never heard of a bass boat called Sterling before, right? But sure enough, this bass boat was still sticking around when I was about to get transferred over to their boat. So there's this bass boat called Sterling. You tell me I've never heard of a bass boat called Sterling. I've never heard of a boat called Sterling before, period. But so Brandon's boat official was saying, hey, there's a boat called Sterling. I've never heard of a bass boat called Sterling. That's my name. And then Brandon says, that must be good luck. I'm going to catch a 7-pounder now. And like the next flip, he catches a 7-pound, 14-ounce largemouth. So I think that's very good evidence we're living in a simulation. Okay, so that was day one. Tough fishing again. While I was in the boat with Brandon, I didn't film any scoreable bass. I'm pretty sure about that. But these days are so long, and I'm essentially living through a viewfinder, and so my brain can kind of get scrambled sometimes. But so that was day one, very tough fishing, and the next day, which I have my notes right here, so I have to, which is today, I should remember this, but today wasn't forecast to be any rain or anything, but of course there was rain. The beginning of the day, bright sun, beautiful. I was really excited, not very much wind, thinking it was going to be, we weren't going to have a day with any rain, and actually we did have rain today. So the weather people were completely wrong, but I was paired up first with Jason Christie. Jason Christie is a hammer, lives in Oklahoma, and everybody in Oklahoma is afraid of him as far as bass anglers because he's so good. And he didn't weigh in a fish today. So, and here's the thing too, on this body of water it's now the Bass Pro Tour has made it so a scoreable bass has to be 2 pounds, right? And he wasn't able to, last year it was 1 pound, this year it's 2 pounds. So he wasn't able to, weigh a 2-pound bass, which is really saying something. And when I was with him, he was in the upper part of the reservoir, which is muddier. And I think that's the problem, and I gotta maybe have to keep this down. I got transferred because Jason wasn't doing well. I got transferred to Randall Tharp, and he was way down at the dam. And when you get down to the dam, you see what happens is on a reservoir you have all this, you have a lot of rain, you have all this water coming in from the river. All a reservoir, if you don't know, all a reservoir is a dammed river. So you have all this muddy water coming in, and the reason it's clear down by the dam is all that muddy water has time to kind of settle. By the time it gets to the dam, it's, the muddy water has settled. There's less muddy water down by the dam typically. So the best anglers today were down at the dam. The water's clear down there. Jacob Wheeler was down there. Jacob Wheeler's a hammer. He's a frightening angler. I was paired up with Randall Tharp. I got 2 scoreable bass. And what was really interesting, I filmed 2 scoreable bass with him. His average today was crazy. And they were all like 4-pounders, plus. I think he had 6 pounds he had 6 bass for 26 pounds or something, 28 pounds. And what was really interesting is that he was catching fish doing something that at this time of year, I wouldn't really have thought you could catch him doing, this very well. So he was using a swim jig, and he was keeping it up, on the top of the water column, and not fishing it fast, but not fishing it slow either. And when I think of a swimming jig, I typically think of, a little bit later in the year, springtime, post-spawn, summer. But this, it's technically still winter, late winter, and catching them on it. So that was really, really interesting. Some few other things before we wrap up here. I don't want to keep on rambling here. So let's see here. This is day 2, right? So day 1 was Group A of the 40 anglers of the Bass Pro Tour. Day 2 is Group B, different 40 anglers of the Bass Pro Tour. And you had some real hammers today in this group. Kevin Van Dam, Mike Iaconelli. Mike Iaconelli didn't catch a single fish today. So that had to be really interesting in his boat, to say the least. But I was thinking this whole time, how is Kevin's career, how is his year going to be this year, 2020, on the Bass Pro Tour? Because he didn't have a good year last year. And Kevin didn't weigh in a bass for 2 periods. And I'm like, here we go again. So I was really kind of bummed because I'm a fan of Kevin's. I've worked with Kevin a lot. And I'm like, come on, man, what's going on here? Well, in the 3rd period, he came alive and had a hell of a comeback. So I believe he's in the top 10 or very close. So good to see that. And let's see. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that there weren't more anglers down in that clear water by the dam, because it certainly seems like that was key, getting away from that super dirty water at the top of the reservoir, if you will, and getting to more clear water by the dam. It seemed to me, I don't know this for sure, but it seemed to me like the anglers that did the best were down by the dam. I know Randall Tharp was down by the dam. Jacob Wheeler, who's leading the thing, is down by the dam. So, let's see here. What else do we got? Yeah, and then the other thing I kind of thought was really interesting is you're seeing more and more manufacturers making trolling motors. You're seeing, of course, you have Motor Guide. The 2 players that have always been around are Motor Guide and Minn Kota. And Motor Guide has been like non-existent lately. Minn Kota has been, just leading the way here, especially with their Ultrex motor. But what's happened last fall, new companies started getting into the trolling motor market. So you had Garmin and Lowrance, and so I was with anglers that had Garmin's and had Lowrance trolling motors on, and there's also going to be Power Pole is coming out with a trolling motor now. So it's like the trolling motor wars. And I'm particularly interested in what Power Pole is going to be coming out with, because Power Pole makes, to me, the most superior shallow water anchor. I think it's far better than Minn Kota, their Talon. It's a far better design. I'm not going to go through the reasons right now, but I think they're a great company. They make a superior product, in my opinion. But they've really taken their time with this trolling motor. They're coming out with a trolling motor. They haven't released this trolling motor yet. And what I think is the reason is they're just really, really meticulous. I've heard a lot of good things about Power Pole as far as the culture of the company, and just they really are like perfectionists. So that's a trolling motor that I'm really looking forward to seeing when it comes out, because I think it's going to be awesome. There it is, day 1 and day 2 of the Bass Pro Tour on Lake Eufaula 2020. I'm going to be doing all of them this year. So I'm going to be trying to recap every day off the water. It's exhausting, but I think it could be kind of fun too to do this. So hope you enjoyed. If you like the video, please subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell icon. That way you'll be notified when we upload content here on Angling Uploaded. And yeah, if you like what we're doing, the best way to support what we're doing is to subscribe. Really appreciate you watching. I'm gonna go to bed.